Hello everybody and welcome to Year 8 Options History. Now in this PowerPoint presentation I'm going to go through with you what we're going to be doing in Year 9 History, why it's important and why I believe you should do it. So as I go through, please listen carefully and make sure if you have any questions that before you choose you come and talk to myself, Mr. Morris or Miss Guest before choosing your options. So why will you study history? Well, I've got a plethora of reasons here for you, numerous different reasons about why I think you should take up history at GCSE. Because an understanding of history is not just learning about the past, as people think to say, and we're trying to do down the subject. Actually, so many reasons creates a vital understanding of the world around you. And that's number one. It allows you to understand the world around you. Why America is going through certain things it's going through now is all rooted in history. Why there's arguments about slavery now is rooted in history. Black Lives Matter. It helps you understand the world if you study history. It'll also help you understand how people think and act. How certain groups may act certain ways. How certain nations act in certain ways can often be put down to history. You've got to think as a person, you act the way you do because of your past, and that extends further back through history, and learning about the past and learning about you, yourself, your country, other nations helps you understand why they're going to think and act the way they do. You can be able to know when the television is lying to you, and heads up, the television is often lying to you. You'll be able to know when YouTube is lying to you or Wikipedia is lying to you. You'll be able to call out your parents and when they're telling you fibs. Not that they often do, but people often create their own stories and ignore the truth. You'll be able to spot when newspapers are being biased, when they're not telling you the whole truth. You'll start to look for both sides of the argument, and you won't just accept a version of the truth, and it'll make you a better, cleverer person when you're able to do that. You'll be able to think independently and assess situations for yourself. You'll be able to step back and take a pause and think about what you think about that situation instead of just accepting what other people say. You'll be able to challenge stereotypes, argue against people just saying, well, everyone's like that because of this. A study of history will allow you to do this much more effectively. You'll also gain an ability to further put ideas into context. So what does that mean? That means taking an idea and understanding it in the situation it's come from. Taking an idea and realistically looking behind people's motives and why it's come around. And I promise you history will allow you to do that better. And you'll be able to relate to your parents and your grandparents' experiences. And you might think, well, I don't mind what they've experienced, I don't care. But understanding is a massive step to kind of growing as a person. And this is what history will help you do. So, what is the course? What do we study? Well, we study, first of all, medicine through time. This is looking at medicine over the past 1,000 years. So how they treated themselves, how they thought they were going to get better, what they thought caused illness. And you can see some of the pictures. It's not as simple as just, oh, it's medicines and, oh, yeah, that's how people got better. It's actually really interesting. We do an in-depth study of World War I. Look at how the gas attacks affected soldiers. We look at the first plastic surgery. So it wasn't all nip and tucks and lip fillers, but before it was actually really important surgery to help soldiers. We look at why people whip themselves to try and make themselves better. Seems ironic. We'll look at the development of lung cancer. And we'll look at how a man took a boy and injected him with a disease in the hope that he could find a cure for another one. We'll also look at Anglo-Saxon and Norman England from 1060 to 1088, over 1,000 years ago, and what most people consider the start of the birth of modern England. We'll look at how a man came and took over the country, why he killed 100,000 people, why did people have to turn to eating each other, who brought the first castles to Britain, what actually happened in that battle at Hastings in 1066, and which father bullied one of his sons so bad that he went to war against him. All of this we will look at. We'll also look at the American West, okay, a period of history much closer to modern day, only roughly 160, 170 years ago. We'll look at, were Indians really how they were portrayed, taking people's scalps off their head, you can see in the far right picture. Why the man in the centre on the left with the long hair, wearing the hat, was so arrogant that he led to his own death. And was it really a story of cowboys and Indians like we'd see in Western films? So we have a look at the American West, debunk some myths, and learn some new facts along the way about how cows made modern America as well. So lots of interesting bits to learn and to challenge old ideas. And we come to our final point. Nazi Germany. We look at Germany after World War I, how badly it was affected, and Hitler's rise to power. We'll look at why children were playing with piles of money in the top right picture. We'll look at how Jewish people were attacked and persecuted. We'll look at how the king was removed from power, and Hitler had 250,000 personal bodyguards that carried out his wishes and scared a population into behaving. We'll look at all these things in one of the most interesting and scary times of history. And all of it will tell you more about the modern day. So how are you eventually assessed? Now this is really important because some people don't do as well in exams. This is a very exam-led subject. There are 3 exams. Well, if this is all going ahead because of COVID. I'm assuming COVID will have gone and we're back to normal exams. And if we are, paper 1, which is the medicine, will be an hour and 15 minutes and make up 30% of your grade. Paper 2, which is both American West and Anglo-Saxons, makes up 40% of your grade, 20% each. And Nazi Germany, which is the modern day study, will take up 1 hour and 20. So, it is important to remember that these exams are long, but they're not difficult if you learn the content effectively. It's very important that you look at this and think, are you able to extend your writing? Because, for example, on the Anglo-Saxon paper and the American West paper, there are actually only 3 questions to answer. So you need to be good at writing lots in this subject. So why will this help you in your future career? You might say, well, I'm not going to do anything to do with history. Well, that's understandable, but history has a lot of skills that you able to transfer across to your career of choice. An employer will know that you can solve problems and write clearly. Writing and problem solving are very important in history. An employer will also know you can select information intelligently. And you would be an ideal candidate for A-levels. Jobs you could go into: a TV researcher, accountant, solicitor, journalist, police, writer, teacher, barrister, lawyer, advertiser, costume or set designer. The list is absolutely endless. And it's not just limited, you don't have to be a historian or a librarian. It is the grade and the skill of an academic subject that will help you. And a lot of previous prime ministers have actually studied history, either privately for their own enjoyment or actually at university. So, that is history in a nutshell, and I really hope that you're interested in learning about some of those things and you will sign up to join in to do history at year 9. Thank you very much for listening.